Welcome to the Excellent Podcast. I'm your cinematic host, STEFON WHITAKER, the head honcho of SW Films. And we have a wonderful guest in here today, Mr. Blake Alan Mavrix, or how it will change, Mavrix, everything. All right. BAM Videos is here in the building. Shout out to BAM, man. We've known each other since 2017, probably, or even a little earlier than that. Actually, we've spoke to each other before that when I was still in film school, and I had you on a few of my productions back in the day. And yeah, BAM Videos is here. How are you doing, Mr. BAM?
Short answer is, I'm doing awesome. I'm, hyper focused on my business right now. Longer answer is that, uh, I'm in America, right? Clean water, electricity, roof over my head, clothes on my back, food in the fridge, uh,
Indiana for sure.
right, yeah.
If you're in Florida, you probably wouldn't have this have that
I
same
was in
answer.
Florida for a few days. My parents bought a house down in there, and they wanted some help for me to set up some tech stuff down there. So I agreed for a few days. And yeah, I saw the dam. The damage was one city or county over from where they were, but we
Oh,
still went
well,
down to
good.
visit to see some stuff and everything. I'm like, yeah, people's belongings are just on the side of the road because they got flooded out of it. I'm like, oh dear God. It's
Yeah.
bad, but that aside, uh, you know, eh, um,
You're doing good, is what it sounds
I'm
like.
I'm I'm doing, young and healthy and pushing my boundaries and everything like that, pushing my limits and everything, using everything I've got to my advantage. That's the, positive side of the answer is that, I'm doing good overall. Obviously I've got
Yeah.
internet and everything like that. Uh, so, very little to complain about. No job right now, so that kind of sucks. But that's just, the life of, starting over. I'm in a start over point right now.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about everything. Well, first off, I just want you to, kind of introduce yourself in terms of, BAM videos. Briefly, just, speak to your excellence on that. Speak to kind of, your what you do, what you offer. And yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. So, BAM Videos, video production business. I'm literally flying solo on it. I got my start, like he said, back, 12, 21, 12. First promotional video I did for a pop-up underground rave right here in Fort Wayne that, I literally just messaged them, hey, do you guys want a video done? They're like, yeah, go ahead and come on in. And I, was getting my video equipment from the library because, taxpayer citizen of Fort Wayne, I get access to the library card, and that gave me access to the the TV production station that they had down in the library, and I was just able to check that out and just learn on my own. Carve my own path and figure out what I wanted to do with video and art and the technical aspect of it and everything like that. So that's what I did for a while for a lot of different businesses, and I just found out that I loved it and wanted to see about making that into uh, not a job per se, but definitely a business. And that's where I'm like, that's part of the reason why it is that I, wanted to, because the creative aspect always thrilled me the most about it. Not just the shooting aspect of it and, figuring out how to get certain shots and certain perspectives, but also, the artistic aspect of editing too. Also, really fascinated me as far as manipulation of footage to, get it to really captivate an audience. And also, being it really into tech, love the aspect of, even just building my own PC. I'm PC, not Mac. I will just put that out there. Uh, I have a very emotional connection with my PC, and that's simply something a Mac user can't say. But
Wow.
throwing shade, very subtly. But no, and I got my start whenever I had a DJ actually get me into nightclub at one point for God, it was like 2 or 3 consecutive years, 2 or 3 consecutive summers. Loved it and really got my feel for it and everything like that. Never even really made more than like what, $300 off of a one-time shoot and everything. So found out that I could make some money out of it, and I'm like, okay, how much more can I push this? It turns out in Fort Wayne, whenever you start putting a price tag on something like video production without being tied to a name company, so whenever me, a no name company, comes up and says, yes, I'm going to charge you, your client list dries up really fast whenever you have no
Mm-hmm.
connections. And so I focus on my day job, and as a way to, try to get some money together to get better equipment, so that way I could push my skills even further. My skills were already tapping out the equipment that I was able to buy with a part-time job that was paying me basically nothing. And, you can be really good storyteller and really captivate an audience if the quality of the video sucks because you're shooting on a seven, you're shooting on like a little tiny camera or whatever the case is, like a little point and shoot camera type deal. You might be able to squeeze something out of it that could be interesting, but you know you're not going to captivate an audience with something that's going to be super grainy and you can barely make out what you're looking at either.
Right.
There's a balance there, and
Okay.
I was in some ways missing the mark entirely because of that one restraint.
Okay,
But
so let me
yeah.
so you basically explained how you kind of got into
Hmm.
videography. But I mean, is there anything that's missing in that part? Like what made you create BAM videos? Is like how did you what was the interest that you had in wanting to become a videographer and start creating?
That has to do with, I would say, so specifically the business side of it, I guess. I wanted to be in control of, I wanted to maintain the control of who I worked with, what I was creating as far as the art was concerned, the message I was putting out into the world and everything like that. And, I had some people tell me, hey, just go into, you could make a lot of money if you go into newscasting or whatever. I'm like, I have zero interest in that whatsoever.
I agree.
Um,
Yep.
but then also, and to go even super basic on you for just a minute, BAM videos, it's just my initials, right? It's literally just my initials
I
that spell out the
mean,
word BAM.
SW Films is the same.
There you go. So,
It is the same.
it
That's
happened.
that's one thing that we meet on. Yeah.
Yeah, it happened to work out that, my mom wanted to pick out a name for me, first and middle name for me that, it couldn't easily be, Ashley breaks down to Ash, or,
Hmm.
it couldn't be easily made into a nickname. Turns out she did
Right.
it by accident. So, but yeah, no, as far as, repeat the question again so that way I know I'm answering the right thing.
Well, just how did you get what inspired you to want to create BAM as a video production company?
Oh, yeah, yeah, no. So I always had it in my head that, I was always gonna create something, create just, awesome videos, kind of similar. I've always had a similar style in my head for comparatively to what like Peter McKinnon does with his videos, where, you know, they're super, in your face and super energetic, and it's one thrill after the other, even whenever he calms down really like that. It's just a constant build up and build up and build up to another drop or whatever. So, that's kind of where that comes from, in addition to just being a simple, easy to remember name that, that's really where it comes from ultimately.
Okay. So, before I get into this third question, I know you mentioned a lot about just the type of work that you created. A lot of stuff. Of course, I've seen a lot of stuff that you've done. In the like club spaces. In Fort Wayne,
Mhm.
Indiana, of course, is where you're located. Um, I gotta ask, what makes you want to hop into that field? For me as a filmmaker.
Mhm.
You know, as, at least in a commercial space, because I guess I would maybe connect that to a commercial space in a way, because these are businesses, of course,
Yeah.
who, you know, might need some sort of coverage on an event or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Um, I've never had an interest, I guess, to work with any clubs or if anything like that, I'm using that maybe as a location, but as you know, working with them as a client overall, that's something
Mhm.
that I don't have any experience with. So I want to ask you, like, what makes you interested in that space to do stuff at a in the club scene, like, you know, promos for different music and stuff like that? Where does that come from?
Right. So, I guess that comes from, performing arts, right? The nightclubs that I would be wanting to go out to would have, live DJs that would be mixing music, live. And it's for me, it's one of those things where, it's the atmosphere of people just having a good time listening to music. The outside world doesn't matter. You are in a space where everybody's vibing out to the same music. It's the culture of it. It's it's performing arts thing, right? So I look at even like music festivals like Electric Daisy Carnival or Ultra Miami or whatever like that. And I'm like, I would almost want them to hire me as an employee if it meant that I was able to video record and edit their videos to be a part of their production team. I would almost want to do that for that sake alone, because it just looks like a freaking blast to do that.
Mhm,
To be
mhm,
involved in that culture, and also to to capture that, to capture, people being at even a concert for that matter, which you know, they're different spaces, obviously, but in my brain, they're almost one and the same because I can record, I can like be hardwired into a DJ's deck and, basically treat that like, a live DJ set and, have that promotional video going as to where, oh, it's not just, an MP3 file that you're listening to in your car. Whenever you get out of your car, you could also come in home and, oh, now you can put it up on your TV and watch, you
mhm,
know,
mhm.
and, similar with a concert, people are up here with their phones all the damn time throughout like a lot of the show or whatever like that. Why not have a video production team that they're already putting the picture of the some of the concerts, some of the performers up on the big screens. Start recording that, put some videographers down in the audience, and then whenever that file is created, send that file out to all the concert goers, to the audience members, so that way they didn't have to have their phones out to not be in the moment and have to record. They have them being in the moment, right? That's kind of where I'm going with that, and especially as of recently, that is essentially my spiel, if you will, my shtick
Okay.
for, that.
So it sounds like you have a lot of passion with it in terms of wanting to actually do that
hmm
type of content. Like, do you go out to like do you just go out to nightclubs on your own and just like enjoy yourself, just party and or anything like that?
So nightclubs specifically, mostly no, unless I have a camera on my hands. I know that that's not what you're asking, but let me specify. Let me clarify that real fast. So I have very little interest uh, in the music itself that's being played. Right? EDM DJ mixes that whenever you've got, a whole bunch of, the DJ is actively mixing the stuff and everything like that. I've got DJ mixes on my phone that I listen to constantly. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm interested in that particular genre that they're mixing. It's the fact that I enjoy them, how they're mixing it. Right. So for me, the fun of going out to a nightclub is that I've got the camera in my hand and that I'm, capturing these people having fun for them, right?
Okay.
And as well as,
Yeah.
social media too for the business and everything like
Right.
that for other people to enjoy.
That's interesting. I mean, I know myself, I don't go out to nightclubs. I don't have even really any interest. I'm trying to think of the last time I went out to a nightclub. I mean, I want to say probably, actually, I think I went to a nightclub this year for a rap party, actually.
Hmm.
But once again, I didn't enjoy it. The only thing that made me enjoy it was like, being there with some of the friends I had on the crew and stuff like that. But in general, on my own time, me and my fiance, we're not going to out to a nightclub. I don't know what, I know my fiance isn't a big nightclub person too, which is great for me
Mm-mm.
because this is not my scene. But like, it's interesting that you say that because I don't know. I feel like when you're filming stuff like that, you kind of want to be in the moment, or you kind of want to you film it because you also enjoy that environment too. But I can also see the difference in terms of like you like to see other people probably have a good time, a
Hmm.
little bit, and it's like it also helps when you're shooting someone's business. I understand that.
Hmm.
Like there's businesses that I've worked with where I probably would never do what they do, but I just know I like to capture. I know as a filmmaker, as a director, as a producer, I just like to throw those things together, put those things together, make a story out of it, and see it help the client out.
Right. And
So
to
yeah.
and to highlight one point that you did make that I want to clarify, you know, if it's a band that I really enjoy, like, one of my favorite bands is I Prevail. I wouldn't want to be the director and producer behind the camera or at the video switchboard or whatever like that because I want to enjoy I Prevail. I want to enjoy I
Yeah.
Prevail. I want to be there in that, but I would still want that being captured so that I don't have to stand there like an idiot with my phone in the in the audience like that.
Right.
It just sucks, right? It just you can either do
Yeah.
this and capture it and have it forever, or you can just be in the moment. But it eventually we'll get old and amnesia kicks in and everything like that, and we just
Yeah.
forget about things like. So for specific artists that I really enjoy, and I'm talking more concerts rather than clubs,
Hmm.
which I understand that's where that I'm not going to go see I Prevail at a nightclub. I know that.
Right. Right.
It's similar to how
I don't think any rock bands ever. I don't know. Ever make it to nightclubs? Not
not
usually.
yeah, not I'm not but that's what my thing is mostly.
Yeah. Well, cool. I mean, so in terms of that, like, and I think that brings up a good question is the types of content. Like, do you, because mainly I've seen you solely focus on that type of content. Like, do you have any other, like, wishes or, to
So
wishes? Do
yes.
you have any
Uh,
other opportunities or other things that you want to film, like music videos, commercial, like a commercial for, a more, I guess you could say concrete business, like a restaurant or like
right. Well,
so anything like
actually,
that.
yeah.
Movies,
So this actually
films.
goes back to this actually goes back to what I was about ready to touch on earlier, which was that right now I'm out of work. Right, I let go of a day job that I loved my day job. I was working at TrackPhone inside Walmart selling smartphones. I loved that job. I really did. I was having fun with it, teaching people about tech and everything like that. Most of my clientele were boomers. They were buying prepaid smartphones or whatever like that. So it was really easy. And I enjoy teaching people about, the tech. Some of my customers were doing really good to know how to plug in their phone to charge it at night. Let's just put it that way.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I looked at my boss and I said, "Look, I love my job, and it's been really awesome for me to do this and everything. But I've crunched my numbers forwards, backwards, and two ways to Sunday. This is what number I need to hit in order to turn the page of my life. Right? I'm not trying to stack money for the sake of stacking money. This is what I need." And she's like, "Unfortunately, nobody at this company makes that kind of money. The only other possibility I can have for you is that we put you at a Walmart store that's outside of Fort Wayne. I have a bike, I don't have a car, so it's just not going to work." And I'm like, "Okay, I've got to focus on my business then." Now, I say that to say this: what I've been doing is I have actually been going out to different businesses within Fort Wayne, obviously. I live downtown, or at least near downtown area. So, I can just go out, walk around throughout the entire day and hit up all the different local businesses that are right here in Fort Wayne and be like, and so I approach the manager, the owners, and I say, hey, look, you know, I saw online that you guys aren't really doing much social media content. Maybe you post on Facebook or Instagram, once a week at best, or whatever the case is. So I've got a 3-month long contract that, hey, I'm going to come in, whenever you guys are open and generate this content for you that you can post 6 to 8 times a day on short form content that promotes longer form content that would be 20 or 40 minutes a piece, on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would in turn bring in more revenue because, now you're actually reaching eyeballs that are here and not on the TV, which is probably where you're thinking that they are. They're not. They're here,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, let's go ahead and start making some social media content. I get that a lot of these business owners are, they're of an older mindset and they've already got so much other stuff going on and everything like that. I'm not adding to your plate. I'm adding to your bottom line, right? So I would just be documenting what's going on within the business. Maybe I'm following the actual owner or a manager for a day or whatever the case is, and I'm just creating that documentation similar to how Pawn Stars did it. That's what I'm looking at doing right now for virtually any kind of business. I'm going around to a whole bunch of different businesses, different types and everything like that to, the gold places or different restaurants or whatever the case is. There's going to be a new indoor amusement park that's opening up. You bet I'm going to be down there, whenever they open up, being like, hey, this is me, this is what I offer, let's go ahead and partner up for a 3-month long time frame. We a good way to dip our toes in and see if we can work well with each other and know that I'm actually bringing more value to your business because I'm generating content on platforms that people are on nowadays, right? That's the direction I'm taking my business right now as a business owner, because I understand how all that stuff works, but I also understand that not all business owners are going to have the time or necessarily even care. But I know they care about getting those eyeballs and attention on their business. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a business at all.
To kind of to go into that to your answer there, I do want to ask, like, what kind of struggles have you encountered with your business? And I asked this specifically because on Snapchat, I know that you had a few different rants, or we're not even going to say rants, but just a few different kind of things that was on your mind, in terms of just, dealing with some business owners and, trying to get some business out of them, or not even just trying to get business out of them, but trying to collaborate and to help them and to, teach them, of course, because, there is a lot of businesses still to this day, especially in a town in a city like Fort Wayne, that, they don't have, of course, I think this thing, hold on. I'm still here, people. Don't worry. This damn camera loves to. Okay.
Looks like meeting's adjourned. No, I'm kidding.
All right, hold on. If it pops back up, I might just have to switch back to this camera. Okay. So yeah, what struggles have you encountered? It's like the struggle of that damn thing. But no, because I've definitely seen that on Snapchat, is that you had a few different kind of instances where it didn't really seem like things were going your way. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I have largely stopped posting on social media as of late because, well, first of all, I've been getting the same answers from almost all the businesses that I've been approaching. I've found two very common denominators. Is that, well, first of all, is that, we just can't afford that right now. And they say that before I even get to tell them what my price is. Like, I'm pretty sure even if I were to tell them, hey, I'll give you the first month for free or whatever the case is like that, at that point, you're just talking about not caring, right? At that point, you're talking about the fact that you just don't think that it's worth it or whatever like that, which I get it. I understand where they're coming from because, like I said earlier, I dealt with customers at TrackPhone that, oh, well, I don't need a new phone because my flip phone's working just fine. It's like, well, that's not really what I'm offering here. I know that they do that, I'm very well aware that a lot of businesses don't need extra promotion. I'm saying it can help add to your bottom line, right? In the same way that, a lot of business owners they know they don't need to start a business in order to make money, right? You could go work, be a manager at a McDonald's and still make money. And arguably, in some cases, you could make more because, as we all know, small businesses are taxed way more on their income than what employees are. But at the end of the day, what I found is that, they're a lot of them are job owners essentially, and it sounds harsh for me to say it that way. I understand that, but I'm calling a spade a spade. I'm calling it the way I see it. I don't mean that as a bash. I just mean it as a matter of fact, even if that fact sounds a little negative, right? They're job owners. They feel like they need to be doing everything within their business and everything like that, and they feel like they need to be working every single day, so on and so forth like that, which I'm not bashing, right? Because the other end of that is that, oh, you just bought a business for the sake of having the income and you pop your head into the business, once or twice a year. That's the other extreme, right? Where,
Mhm.
I dealt with that with a nightclub here in Fort Wayne, which, I'm not going to name drop any names like that or anything. But, you know, the owner wasn't even in state, right? He doesn't live in the state. I was told straight up that he rarely comes in, if at all. I was given the owner's contact info, which I did go ahead and was texting him back and forth for the period of time that my business phone was working. And, I told him, I gave him my spiel and everything like that, and he sounded like he was interested, but then he's like, but we're just not liquid enough to pull the trigger right now. I'm like, okay, when are we talking about? Like, when should I check back with you or whatever? He's like, give me about a month or so and let me see. I'm like, okay, that's not, you're not talking about next year. You're not talking about tomorrow. I'll go off to see about some other businesses. But other businesses are still saying the same thing, even whenever the owner's right there and treating it like a day job. It's like they 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 just they're not caring enough about growing their business. They'd rather remain stagnant, right? Even if that means adding to their bottom line. And that's the biggest struggle that I have aside from just the owner not being in Fort Wayne at all. And even to today, I'm still really struggling with it. And my main thing that's keeping me going out my door and continuing to look for businesses is that, okay, I've ran into this a lot and I know what to expect, but I have a really hard time believing that out of all of the small local businesses that are in Fort Wayne, that there's not at least a handful, even if let's just say three, you know, three businesses that are under a video contract with me for me generating content for their business to add to their bottom line to bring them more value. Even three would be life changing for me. Right. That's
Right.
so, that's the main thing. I put my back up against the wall. Can I go back to track phone anytime I wanted to? The answer is yes, I could. And it would give me more comfort than what I have right now. But my lack of comfort is what is keeping me going out that door, going out my front door and finding businesses to partner with. Because whenever I was at my day job, even though I loved it, I was barely able to contribute 1 to 3 hours of work with my business after I got off work with my day job because that's just how taxing my day job was on me mentally. Right.
Mhm.
So, and I'm sure you've picked up on this. 1 to 3 hours a night on average for you to start up a business from nothing is not enough. It's just not, right? Uh, unless you're really just chasing fast cash, which
Mhm.
is very toxic. So,
Okay, so you say it a lot there.
I know.
So I think in general, because it's interesting. I will say this, I think from our last conversation that we had years ago, which I will
Very
link
different answer.
I will link in these comments or in the bio of every platform of that video. But I don't even remember if we spoke about that last time. We probably did a little bit, but um, it's interesting. I mean, I will say, there, especially in Fort Wayne, the last time I worked with a Fort Wayne business, it's been quite a while. I can't necessarily remember the last Fort Wayne business. I've mainly stuck to working with whenever I do come back home or whenever I am working on a project back home, I'm usually sticking towards Angola, my hometown, and that's kind of it. But what do you think is ways to fix that? Like, do you think that you need to, one, just have better overall projects, better overall content? Because are these people getting a chance to see your work?
So, what I think needs to change, I don't know there's really anything that needs to change that isn't going to change soon, right? Let's take, super broad example, the economy, for example. I've been following financial news a lot lately, and so I'm definitely keeping up with the fact that right now we're in the middle of the biggest shift of finance and wealth ever in American history, let alone human history. And so that is going to force a lot of people's hands to either they rest on their roles and die because American economy is shifting in such a way that in a lot of scenarios jobs are not worth having because they're so and few and far between. They're not paying enough, or the managers or owners are not really respecting employees' personal time that much, and employees are just getting fed up with it. So, what a lot of people are doing is now they're finding ways to make money online, which even for me right now, like I said, I'm just out of work, but I'm doing Uber Eats with my girlfriend's car to make some spending money for me. That's not really enough to pay very many bills, but it's enough to
Mhm.
take the edge off so that way we're not totally just sinking ship, Titanic style.
Right.
So what needs to happen is what I think is already happening in the sense that, first of all, we are in the middle of an economic collapse. There's no way around that. And so what is happening right now is that a lot of brick and mortar stores are shutting down and being replaced by businesses that they offer that they're leaning more towards online services and shipping. So you got the Walmarts of the world that are converting over from being a brick and mortar store that you can walk into to being more of a smaller distribution center comparatively to the ones out in the middle of nowhere. And so, you're getting a lot of, these businesses that are popping up that are shifting the paradigm of what does it mean to be in business for yourself, even. So, a lot of businesses are failing because they're wanting to rest on their laurels and not progressing and saying, hey, look, let's go ahead and at least hire someone that's, maybe got a small point and shoot camera that can do some social media content for us. So they're going to learn this the hard way, or
Would
they're going to actually adapt to
yeah.
changing economic environments.
Would you say that? Do you think any bit of competition plays a part in this, and not competition on for them? Because obviously, if competition was any important to them, then of course I think they'd want to do a little bit more promoting. But do you think that there's any competition for you that you have to kind of not worry about, but be aware of? because Fort Wayne has a lot of people that wants to shoot videos over there. That
Yeah.
is one thing. That is one thing that is still the case. I see every now and again some new people that are shooting some different stuff over there. And hats off to them. Some people have some really great work, and they have different connections of how they move and do things. So do you think
Mhm.
that plays a part at all, or do you think about that?
So, okay, I'm gonna slightly change your question a little bit because I don't really think in terms of competition like sports. I think in terms of just, okay, yeah, sure, there might be another videographer that I'm gonna run into at some point, but that doesn't mean that I view them as competition so much as,
Competition, right?
rivalry. You know, whereas, they may be fine with doing, an entire music video project for a band that wants to do one or two music videos for one or two tracks, whatever like that, and they be fine with being paid, $300 or $400 or $500 or maybe even $100 or whatever the case is. And for them, that works out. That's great. What I'm looking to do specifically, and this actually goes a little bit deeper into my overall business plan for my business, because now we're talking medium and long term, is that I mentioned how I'm doing a 3-month long contract starting out. And the idea is that the client is enjoying working with me so much that, okay, I've taken that price that they paid me, I've reinvested it in my business, I'm able to get more and better equipment. I'm able to upgrade my PC, and also I've got a server back behind me. I don't know if it's visible right now or not in my background, but I've got a home
I
server.
see Dr. Pepper, it looks like, on the ground. That's about
Uh,
it.
oh, that's a new case that she bought today. But no, but I've got my own home server that I've got a 10 terabyte hard drive in there. Eventually, I'm going to have that host my own website, and then eventually it's going to come to the point where, okay, let's go ahead and see what happens whenever we actually host the business's website. So whatever client I'm partnered with, host their website on my server, because then I'm going to start doing hour-long plus episodes of the same stuff that I'd be the same 20 or 40-minute long pieces that I'm uploading to YouTube or LinkedIn or wherever. But now they're hour-long plus because they're exclusive content that includes what you saw on YouTube plus more. So similar to how LTT is doing Flowplane. And so now their website has an online series that's, the documentation of the business and everything like that, that people are subscribing to, kind of similar to Netflix. Here's the key difference though. Download button. As long as you're a paying subscriber for the month, you are able to download MP4 files of any and every video that is posted on that business's website, and you keep that copy of yourself. You
Hmm.
keep that copy of the content yourself. Netflix doesn't do that. Paramount Plus doesn't do that. None of these major streaming services are doing that. And to top it off, I don't know of any videographers in the area that even have their own server. Maybe they have a NAS, but NAS is not the same thing as a server, and there's a whole bunch of technical stuff that goes into that and everything like that. So that's what I'm looking at for long-term growth. This is that I essentially wind up being a business partner that I wind up creating all these different web series that go on to. You would go down here to Mad Anthony Brewery, but they actually would have their own series that you can subscribe to and watch because it's a documentary series type deal. And that's
Hmm.
another source of revenue for that business. The business that I'm partnered with is already paying me as a contractor videographer. But then the subscription that you're paying to view this content as a source of entertainment or whatever the case is, that subscription is going to, of course, the server to keep up and going, but then
Hmm.
also it's additional revenue to that business as well. So
Okay.
that's just
Well,
a difference in service at that point.
everybody listening to the podcast, you guys just heard what he said. You better hope no one steals that idea.
Steal it or
But
not, I mean, at that point, then it's a matter of, are you willing to execute on it?
I think what you're talking about is not, it's nothing new. Like it's
Oh, it's
definitely
totally an old
something.
idea.
it's nothing new, and I think in general, at least especially over here in California, like those are things that is pretty common, and I want to say that there is one streaming platform that does offer downloads, but it's like, for instance, like I think like Hulu, for instance, like whenever you're traveling, you can like download, but of course, it was offline. So like you can download it for offline viewing, that whole thing. I think
Right.
actually most streaming platforms have that option.
Well,
Knowing
it's
that people
making
are
it available
flying and stuff like that.
offline. Yeah, it's making it available offline. I'm talking about, the last time I tried to download one of my favorite movies, which is Law Abiding Citizen. I downloaded it
Great
off
movie.
of I downloaded it off of Microsoft. I think it was like Movies and TV or whatever like that. Because I was doing a little bit of research and I'm like, hey, what platform can I download this movie on for a full purchase price as an MP4, WMV, or whatever file format? Oh, you can
Mhm.
download it here. I'm like, okay, fine. Da, 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 tink. And then I go ahead and I transfer that file from my PC here to my laptop. Won't play because it's making it
I
available
see what you're
offline.
saying.
You know,
Hmm.
that's what I'm talking about. So every streaming platform is available to make content that you want to see available offline. I
Hmm.
don't know of a single one that's actually allowing you to download a file.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, whoever's listening in the comments, put it down there. See if there is something like that. Because I feel like, especially like those torrent sites or the pirating sites, that like you'd easily download a movie off of
That's
there.
yeah,
you know,
that's true. Yes,
you know what I mean? Like there's ways, but
yeah, yeah.
actual legit streaming companies, they
That
probably don't want to do that. There's probably some legality
oh,
things that also go to that too in a weird way, but
it's a legality in the sense that they're wanting to, and this is gonna probably go down a deeper rabbit hole, but I just want to put this one out there. They're doing it the way they're doing it, like Netflix, the Netflixes of the world, for example, are doing it the way they're doing it for the sake of their shareholders' bottom line, not for the sake of the customer's experience.
right. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it didn't. So in terms of the competition thing, I get what you're saying, but since Fort Wayne is such a small place, being at the second biggest city in the state of Indiana, like it's still a small place, and I feel like there's a lot of people that want to be able to get themselves out there, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, and want to be able to work in different sections. And sometimes it is very clicky in Fort Wayne. It's always been clicky in Fort Wayne. It's clicky in a lot of places, but Fort Wayne has a lot of clicks. So in general, sometimes those
Yeah.
opportunities get shelved to those people. Um, but that is, but I agree with you in some ways in terms of like how these businesses approach getting content. I mean, that is, that's something that, even at my stature in my career and everything, like that's still a thing that happens, like when I went back to Indiana in July of 2024. People will probably be viewing this in 2025. So anyway, but 2024. And yeah, like I made a post in a Facebook group of Steuben County, and we're Angola, Fremont, Hamilton, all different types of places over there and
Mhm. Yep.
different businesses, and a lot of businesses were interested. But I only came up with maybe I only had two from that initial post and who I actually started working with. It was only two folks. And then but from that time I went back home, I'd shot four commercials. I already had a commercial scheduled.
Hmm.
And then I had another commercial that got referred to me through a client that I was currently working with, which was cool. But some people, I think in general is, it also goes to the businesses that we choose to work with. Sometimes not every business is we're not supposed to work with every business. I believe that every business should have, when I talk about marketing covers a whole bunch of different things, but like I
Hmm.
specifically care about video marketing because, of course, I work in the world of video. So I'm
Hmm.
not necessarily caring about some of that other type of marketing stuff. Like I'm not going to do an audio type thing for somebody only,
Right. Or a
and let,
billboard or something like that.
yeah, like, but video marketing, I believe every business needs it. Absolutely. But at the same time, I don't believe that we shouldn't work with every business. One thing I
No.
do want to ask you though, because it has been it has been a very good question that my one of my homies asked me is, would you rather work with a business that has never done any sort of video marketing ever, or do you want to work with a business that has done some video marketing before, they have experience in that, but they don't have anything current?
Mm.
Or they are currently doing things, but they just don't have, they're looking for some new people. Who would you rather work with?
Who would I rather work with? Ooh. I would I would almost gravitate to the latter because at least then there's some experience. Even if I'm coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to do this, this, and this for you, and it's, like I said, it's stuff that, most businesses they're just not akin to, right? They're more it's more businesses that are wanting just, a 30-second commercial to put up on broadcast TV or something like that. And I'm talking about making several different posts on short form posts on social media. And they're like,
Hmm.
well, we've never done that before. Either way I go, it would still be a new venture for that business, right? So, but because of the fact that the business that's never done anything like this before, eh, they're they're almost going to be hesitant about everything I tell them.
Oh, for sure.
Whereas the
For sure.
business that has done something like this has had some sort of production in the past, being vague, they're not going to, be breathing down my neck so much,
Hmm.
and that's
Hmm.
one thing as a contractor versus an employee that I'm looking forward to is the autonomy of you know being able to actually create something that I think the client will like, but that is also something that I myself am proud of too. And okay, even if you don't like it,
Hmm.
let's go ahead and have that back and forth. What specifically would you like me to change, omit, add in, whatever? But at the same time, it's
Yeah.
also a balancing act of, don't just be a backseat driver to me editing on my PC or, telling me, oh, make my light brighter or, focus a little bit more on this or whatever. It's the autonomy of it, right? So I guess I would have to go with the latter just because of less uh, risk of just the constant potential. I'm only speaking potential, the potential constant breathing down my neck part.
Right. Right.
On the
That's
opposite
a
side, not all businesses are going to do that, obviously.
right.
But if I start
Yeah.
feeling like you are because you signed the contract and now all of a sudden you're messaging me more than your own wife, it's like there might be an issue here,
Well, so it's interesting. So I mean, I think all of the businesses that I ended up working with when I was home, and most of the businesses I've worked with, in general, they've never had their own type of content before. Like I did a commercial for like a restaurant in Hamilton, Indiana, and I think that was their very first commercial too.
Mm,
And now the thing is though, is like, there is, if a new business was getting, multiple different, like, all types of different kinds of content,
mhm.
opposed to, just getting a one-off commercial, I think there is a little bit of a difference in that output. I think,
Yeah, 100%.
you know,
It's a
d-
it's a night
completely
and day
different.
difference. Yeah, yeah.
But that owner she was very nice. She was great. She was like she kind of set a bar of like how I believe that you should treat people that are coming to collaborate and create something for you in this, that, and the
Mhm.
third. She created, really treated my crew and I well, gave us free freaking food every damn day that we were shooting. Like, great. Um, but then I had another business that I worked with at
Mhm.
this around that same time, and their business was just beginning. Like they were actually just in the
Mm.
process of launching their business. So I knew that they were a little high strung nerves everywhere, trying to meet deadlines.
Oh yeah, everything's a
So
big freaking deal because they're
yeah,
big business. Yeah.
yeah, and me trying to shoot a commercial for them to kind of premiere around the time when they have opened.
Hmm.
I understand that there is a bit of a, hey, I don't got time to talk to you, or type of thing going on,
Yeah.
and even then that person, I did not have great communication with that person whatsoever. Their communication was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But they paid the money when the money was needed. So I can appreciate that, but the communication is the biggest factor that that's to me the most important when you're trying to create
Yeah.
with these.
And that to
But
me is so weird too, because like you paid me the money, you're clearly interested in this, but you're not communicating very well. Tell me how that makes sense. Like, tell me how
yeah,
I'm supposed to operate that way.
yeah. So,
You know,
that with businesses that haven't done video marketing, you're right. There's a lot of questions that get asked, but also
hmm.
sometimes they simply enough, they just don't know what they want.
Oh
Sometimes
yeah.
both these commercials, I had to come up with pretty much the concept for each one, which is fine. I like doing that, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it's great when a business can just tell you straight up this is what they want,
Hmm.
and I, it's a straight objective, and you go there.
Hmm.
Um, in your career, what is one moment in your career that you're the most proud of so far?
Oh, geez. Um, I would have to say this is dating way back when before I even had my own camera, honestly. It was the fact that, like, I got started in the nightclubs and I was shooting for a nightclub that had just opened up, and the I think I'd made like 4 videos for this nightclub over the course of like 3 months, 2 months. Because by the third month is whenever I went up to the manager, I'm like, hey, what can we do about possibly putting these videos up on the TV? Because, like, nobody's seeing them on Facebook, nobody's seeing them on YouTube, and da 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 da.
Mhm.
I'd really like to get, perspective of the people that are coming in that are seeing these videos. Plus, he was paying me some money, but it was basically the equivalent of a tip, right? Which I'm like, I got to put myself out there somehow. So I put whenever a client pays me below, far enough below my asking price that it basically just becomes a tip at that point. I'm going to put my watermark on it, right? It's not going to be big or anything, but it's going to be noticeable. And so I'm like, hey, you got a TV system, a closed circuit TV system in your club. Can we see about going ahead and what do I need to do to be able to put my videos up on your TV system? He's like, we'll see about doing that. Guess what? We got it done the next week, and because they're only open like twice a week,
Mhm.
but we got it done the next week, and that was honestly a big highlight for me to see my video, something I created across all the TVs playing all at the same time and everything like that. That was awesome for me. And of course, whenever people started pouring in and they saw, hey, I know that person, that's a really awesome feeling. That just is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's definitely, it's always good when you get to see your work
Appreciated.
showcased in a bigger and appreciated, but
Mhm.
showcased in a bigger screen, and to multiple different people in there. Absolutely, absolutely, that's great. Um, what has what has managed you to stay in the game so long with some of the with some of the different maybe struggles now? Because I understand in terms of when you're dealing with people that keep giving you the same answer,
Mhm.
sometimes it feels like, okay, well, what the hell is this even? What the hell? What's the use of this? What keeps you in it? What keeps you passionate and want to be locked into this particular type of job and career?
Well, like I said, the first thing is, like I said, I put my back up against the wall. I'm like, okay, I had to go through what at the time at least was a shitstorm of figuring out, even for myself, how do I register my business, how to make sure that I'm, above board and doing my taxes right and everything like that. If somebody does want to sue me because I got them on video doing something that they didn't like or whatever the case was, and they didn't tell me until after it's already blown up or whatever. So, it's the struggles that I went through previously that's like, okay, but I still want to do this and I still have a love for creating video, right? And so I'm like, eh, if I have this much interest in it and this much passion and dedication to even freaking building my own PC to be able to, run DaVinci Resolve and learn it on my own time. Like I've been loving so much of the process of it, and and in addition to how rapidly it's changing and everything, I love all the different little challenges of, oh, okay, now people aren't recording video like this; they're recording it like this now because social media, a lot of social media works that way now. Just it's the challenges that come with that come in this field that uh, have that's been what's gravitated me and kept me here, along with the fact that even just basic entrepreneurship. That's what America was really founded on is that the little guy that has nothing can make a name for himself uh, in a similar way to what I'm going to name drop Gary V has done.
Shout out Gary
Where,
V. Absolutely.
oh, absolutely. He's been my guiding light through all of this. I'm following his podcasts every single day, uh, and he really puts things in perspective. Like I was saying earlier, there are some ways that I'm in a really tough spot right now. Like I said, I don't really have a solid source of income. I'm doing Uber Eats on my girlfriend's car, you know. Um, but
Mm.
at the end of the day, I still have clean water. I still have electricity, food in my fridge, and a roof over my head, and everything like that. I've got internet. Compared to a lot of other people in different countries, I've got it made. What the hell do I have to complain about? Okay, yeah, some of the situation sucks that I'm in right now. I'm approaching 20 different businesses in town almost on average per day and getting either no response back or, oh, we're just not interested right now, or even worse yet, oh, we have someone contracted for video work. Really? I see your Instagram. You're posting like once a week on Instagram. You mean to tell me that that's enough for you? Really? I'm offering more for potentially less money, but you won't even hear me out. Things like that do get me down. I'm not going to lie about that. But at the end of the day, I've still got so many other businesses to hit up. Yesterday, I hit up a business that I had never been in, and I thought it was just a storage unit for the business that was right next door to it. Turns out it was an underground nightclub with a very, very unique theme for Fort Wayne. And as soon as I walked in, I'm like, this is different. And they're like, oh, well, we've already got somebody else contracted for video for our social media stuff, but feel free to shoot your shot here. Here's the email address and everything. But I just found out about it yesterday. So all I really gotta do is look around and pay attention to my surroundings, and I could potentially find 3 clients today.
Yeah.
You know, I put my back up against the wall, and I have to hyper focus on this now. Otherwise, all the effort that I put into everything I've done so far would be for nothing. In which case, yeah, sure, I'll go to McDonald's and fight for $30 an hour flipping burgers or whatever like that. Do I think it's good for me and my community? No, I don't think that would be a very good move for me. So that's ultimately my driving force is just, my
Right.
perspective on the whole thing.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think once you just, you get a chance to lock in with somebody, you just have to create the best work possible, always communicate professionally
Hmm.
and communicate thoroughly, to folks. And even if the folks don't understand, something right away, or even if they maybe not choose to understand, it's always still just being respectful and
Hmm.
understandable about certain things. Hold on real quick. I'm gonna sneeze here in a second.
You're good.
All right. All right. For the people that don't know, I am a little sick and under the weather today, but
Ah.
we're gonna keep continuing this podcast. Cool. So, yeah, man, I'm like I said, I think you'll lock in with somebody in due time. It just takes, it takes time. I mean, look, as
Mhm.
still as a, I always say at the level as I am because, I don't just, do stuff with, just SW Films. In my company, I work on big projects a lot,
Mhm.
like I say a lot because the industry is definitely in shambles, but as much as possible. So, like I've working on TED 2 with the Talking Bears season 2 of that. But working at those levels, still when it comes to trying to just build for my company, it takes
Mhm.
time. Sometimes
Mhm.
people uh will have their reservations or once again they just in terms of stuff for their business it takes time for people to
Mhm.
get it figured out or to want to opt in on something like that. But um one of the things you said too is you do Uber Eats, for
Mhm.
the people that's been listening and watching the podcast on YouTube. You guys have probably seen episode 2 of the vlogs. I talked about doing Shipped. I don't know if you've heard Shipped.
Mhm.
Shipped is the grocery delivery. Grocery delivery. I remember doing Shipped in Fort Wayne, actually,
Mhm.
a couple times. They got the Myers that they do it at.
Yep.
And Shipped is really good, actually. Shipped you can make some pretty good money off of. I like it better than doing like I haven't done DoorDash in forever. I actually just deleted the
Mhm.
DoorDash app. Whenever I'm not working on set, and I'm
Mhm.
just, if I'm just, kind of spending a lot of time doing some editing in
Mhm.
the house, I might try to take a little bit of a moment to do some ship shopping. And honestly, Shipped is cool. I like
Mhm.
Shipped a lot. I like that better than food delivery. Even though food delivery is faster, it's,
Mhm.
but the money is a little bit different.
Mhm.
I've definitely found it to where if you do enough ship shopping, you could probably make some good money. It just kind of depends on where you're at.
Mhm.
Truthfully, I live in Los Angeles now, so
Right.
LA it's a lot of driving. I live in Long Beach, but sometimes to do you might have to go to Hollywood or Burbank if it's a good
Right.
enough order. There's enough places in LA to where Shipped you can do it anywhere. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, what do you like in terms of that though?
So,
You drive your girlfriend's car, and this is
yes.
going to lead into the bike thing because
Mhm.
I'm still surprised how you don't like to drive vehicles, but you like the bikes. I don't want you to explain how you can explain it briefly how you've gotten into that realm, but like
Yep.
give your argument for why you do that and why you think it's better.
So to me, I don't really I wholeheartedly believe that you shouldn't need license registration, proof of insurance, and a 2-ton tank just to be able to get down the street and around the corner to grab a half-gallon of milk in the convenience store. It's completely asinine to me that, whenever you live in a downtown area or whenever, you know, practically everything that you could want, everything that you could go to, friends, family, the club down the street, eating out, whatever, is literally within walking distance. And yet, because of the way that so many American cities have built their infrastructure, it's literally a death trap. It's not even Frogger at this point. Like it's not even that. It's gone so far above and beyond that. It is hilariously ridiculous to me that you need to
Mhm.
hop on the highway just to be able to have a nicer dinner out that's, not a McDonald's. Or maybe it is a McDonald's and the infrastructure sucks that bad. I don't know. But to the idea that you need all that just to be able to get around town, uh, you know, whenever most people are even, especially whenever most people are just, uh, they've got so little on them. They're usually carrying two things: their briefcase and their fat ass, and most people don't use a briefcase anymore.
Mm.
So you've got the fact that these people that everyone's doing local urban commuting, right? Why do you need an SUV for this? I mean, seriously, it is ridiculous. And even my girlfriend's Corolla. okay, fine. It's super economical, super compact, and everything like that. The thing can still do over 100 miles an hour. She works at freaking Amazon, for crying out loud. We're not that far away. What is going on here? Like, and the
So
cost is astronomical. Like
I agree. I
it it
agree.
it and it
What's the
may it
cost?
you know it I say this with as much love and compassion as I can possibly muster up. It makes people so freaking lazy because the next thing you know, down like at Jefferson Point, in order to go from Walmart to the movie theater, you almost have to drive, even though it's literally across the street. It's literally across the street. What are we
Well,
doing?
one
Like,
thing I'll say is like though is I think it depends on where you live. Obviously, Fort Wayne
it
to me is
shouldn't.
never,
It
but
should
it
not. I
it
know it does.
shouldn't.
I know it does, but it shouldn't.
Sure, but like there's just certain places that are just unbelievably massive. For instance, I live in LA. There is no way in hell you're gonna bike from Long Beach all the way to LA proper. There's no way you're gonna do it without being there for at least a couple days, probably.
Devil's advocate.
Now,
I'm going to play devil's advocate here for you for just a second and say,
okay.
as you could well imagine, I am subscribed to a whole bunch of YouTubers that they do ride e-bikes around, and some of these e-bikes are questionable, are questionably legal, or questionably straight legal because they do have that kind of horsepower, or they do have that kind of wattage output and speed and power and range and everything like that.
Mhm.
They don't need a car. They can jump on the highway because they can do 60 miles an hour or whatever like that. It, it, but the size even shouldn't matter if the infrastructure is made properly. Case in point, the Netherlands. I subscribe to Not Just Bikes, so I know this for a fact. He recently has done videos over the past 3 years or whatever like that, including as recently as like what 13 days ago or something like that. He made the case in point as to where Netherlands and that whole continent, to be fair, is just as big as America is. But yet, most of that infrastructure is very people friendly. So people can ride bikes or walk or scooter or
Walking,
skateboard, whatever
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
It is just as big as what America is coast to coast. It has to do with how the infrastructure is laid out.
That is true.
It,
I can give you that because especially the highway systems and like especially in LA. I mean, yeah, but LA is just such a massive place to where like you
Mhm.
have to have a car. It's not like New York or Chicago to where walking and
It's no
Ubering
different.
is much more I guess you could say friendly.
Yeah.
Like LA is so spread out, like you have to drive. And the thing is most people in LA spend their
Mhm.
time in their vehicles,
Oh yeah,
driving.
because they keep on adding more lanes and adding more lanes. And well, the traffic flow would be so much better if we could just add one more lane. How many lanes do we have to add before we realize that we're actually contributing to the problem instead of the solution?
So with the bikes, like I think in general, what would you do? I'm gonna give you a scenario.
Okay.
All right. And without this, you cannot be like, I'm gonna take actually, first off, I'm gonna give you two scenarios. First off, how come
Mhm.
you don't do Uber Eats with your bike and not
I have.
you
I, I
have?
I have. Here's what stopped me from it. Aside from
How was that experience, first off? Tell us that.
so for the
I
most part, it
I
was
know it
fine.
was not good.
For the most part, it was fine. Where I
Okay.
really struggled was whenever I had, one drink from Starbucks or, giant pizza that couldn't fit in my bag, whatever the case is like that. Whenever it was those obscure orders like that. But then it wasn't even the orders that tipped the scale for me to quit doing it. It was a combination of factors. First of which I'll just get knocked out real fast is the fact that I need to service my bike. It's making noise that it shouldn't as I pedal. Like I'll put it that way. Um, but
Okay.
aside from that, what actually tipped the scales for me was that okay, I signed up with Uber Eats, and I've had a few trips that I'm sure you've seen, and I don't know what kind of car you drive or anything like that, but with
I
one
drive
of
a BMW.
okay, with my girlfriend's Corolla, we have full wireless Android Auto, right? So the
Mhm.
Uber Eats comes up and I can see some details, but not many details about the order, specifically about the distance. And what wound up happening one time was that I accepted an order that it looked like it was a decent sized order. I could handle it, except it took me clear out past Fort Wayne city limits. Not necessarily on a highway, but oh my God, I was dead by the time I got halfway back home because it was so freaking far out, way past Jefferson Point, way past, way past, way out
And
there in
you're
the
on your bike.
and I was on my bike. I was on a street bike, like I was on a 5 pound street racing bike that was made to do those kind of things. But dear God, it was such a, and I had already done like 4 deliveries before that. So by the time I got halfway back home, my legs were just, nope.
Yeah, well, here's a good thing. I've actually never done Uber Eats. I've only really done DoorDash. But like
Okay.
when you are on Uber Eats, can you like put in the app like that you are riding a bike? And like because sometimes they want vehicle
I,
reg like they want
I'm
your
gonna be,
vehicle.
I am
Like
going to be experimenting with this because I do have an electric bike. I need to get new battery cells for it, is the problem. And this is an area where I know about as much about electric bikes as what I do running Linux. And I don't know if you have been following my TikTok. I tried to switch from Windows to Linux because Windows pissed me off and da 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 da. And it's basically technologically impossible because of licensing deals from major billion-dollar corporations. I'll oversimplify it. But that was the same. This is the same thing I'm running into with getting battery cells for my electric bike. Is that I don't really understand what I'm looking for. Right? It's so the language and the specs and everything like that. I really need to do more research on it to know that I'm investing because battery cells are not cheap. Battery cells for an electric bike are not cheap. I can't just go down to Walmart and grab them. And if I do it wrong, I either A, wind up wasting the money because these are online retailers that don't have the same return policy that Walmart does for their electronics.
mhm.
But then on top of that, or I could be trying to, get the battery cells into the pack and wire them together and everything like that. And the next thing I know, kaboom, or what, or I get zapped or whatever. You know, it, I've got to be very delicate with this, is what I'm saying. And I really don't know what I'm doing, but I am learning it as I'm going. But to answer the question, uh, uh, from what I saw, there is a way that I can select to do like a scooter or something like one of those sit down scooter type deals with Uber Eats. I don't know if I can do an electric bike yet because I haven't seen the button for it. However, I did it for a while when just even still being, with my girlfriend's registered with my girlfriend's car. But I still did my bike for a while, and there was only
But
one time where I had somebody report that I wasn't like driving the car that it said that I was driving on my profile on the customer's end of the app. So that's the only thing that happened. That's literally the
do
worst thing that's
you did you find it easier or harder driving a car compared to the bike?
in a lot of scenarios, in a lot of ways, I find myself kicking myself in the ass for not being able to have my be able to ride my bike right now because so many of them are, oh, I'm going down the street and around the corner to pick up a Starbucks that I'm going to be delivering down the street and around the corner a little bit further. Or I'm going down to Coney Island, which I'm sure you remember Coney Island. Parking down there is horrendous,
Hmm. Hmm.
but the bicycle
Yeah.
parking is right there on the front door. it, it, you know, just
I get it. There's caveats I think to both.
but I
I
never
would never
know.
do that on a bike, but
I can never know. Now on my phone on the app, whenever I get that order that comes in, I can see where it tells me the total mileage based on where I am, where I'm going, and where the customer is. So, and there's been a few times to where I'm grateful that I had my bike or like my girlfriend's car rather, because it did send me clear freaking out to Grable, Indiana, in Amish country or whatever like that, with a couple of smoothies. There's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do that on my bike and make it back and continue to about my day or whatever like that.
Right,
So,
right.
eh, for the most part, yes, I could do a lot of these runs on my bike. Um, but the nature of how it works, especially for me having my analog bike, like I said, my S18 is it's a it's an 80-pound electric off-road bike. There's no way in hell I'm pedaling that bitch right now. Not without
Right, right,
not
right.
without power.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where I'm using Uber Eats to get the money that I need for my S18 for that's just what I'm branding it as for right now for simplicity's sake, my e-bike. I'm getting the money together for the battery cells. That way I can keep using my that e-bike, and I can also buy the helmet, continue on with my GoPro, because I think you probably have seen some of my GoPro footage that I've
Mhm.
posted
Mhm.
online, and so I'll use that to continue to promote my e-bike business
Right.
while doing Uber Eats.
Okay. How often do you do it?
Do I do
Uber
specifically
Eats. Uber
Uber Eats?
Eats.
Right now, it's so sporadic because I'm still looking at the I'm still figuring out the balance of it, because, do I do Uber Eats or do I look for clients to shoot video for their business? Because either way,
Both.
well, yeah, it's a balancing act, because, if I'm spending time with a client to, essentially, convince them to partner with me, I could be losing out on orders, right? I don't want to get an interruption from Uber Eats to grab an order whenever I'm talking with a business owner about partnering with them,
I
right?
think you just have to use specific days. I mean, I get that,
I
whenever,
can't do that with Uber.
you said you can't do that with Uber.
No, it doesn't have the scheduling feature like DoorDash does. I know what you're talking about because I started to do
Well,
DoorDash.
no, not that, but just like say Monday is the day where you know that you want to just spend
Oh,
like a few hours,
I see what you're talking about. Okay, okay,
like
yeah.
just spending time trying to talk to, client outreach. And then, Tuesday through Friday, you go ahead and you do Uber Eats. Just, utilize your time to the
Yeah.
best of your ability. You always have time to do both. I mean, with Shipt, for instance, like I
Mhm.
have a Shipt order later on today, but then I know I'm also going to this uh what they call Monster Palooza in
Mhm.
Burbank at like 6 o'clock tonight, looking at all the special effects Hollywood
Mhm.
creatures and masks and special effects makeup.
Got you.
That's gonna be really cool. But just taking time to do that. But okay, so on with bikes, or more about vehicles.
Okay.
What if when's the last time that you went out of state? Well, actually, uh, forget that question. When's the last time that you
Just a few days ago, actually, like I said, down in
like
Florida, but
Florida,
yeah.
yeah. But when's the last time that do you enjoy driving a vehicle, or are you also like, do you
Okay.
have a bit of a fear of driving a vehicle? Because that also,
It's not a fear. It's not a fear. It's a practicality thing, right? So if I'm just going around town, yeah, I'm gonna hop on my bike, or better yet, I'll even walk, as long as I'm not trying to go like clear across Fort Wayne or whatever like that. If I'm going down to Indy for Micro Center, for example, because Micro Center opened up down in Indy, I'm not gonna ride my bike to that. I'm gonna take the car, even if I'm not planning
well,
on buying anything.
no shit. If you're
You
riding your bike to Indianapolis, then I mean, I don't know, you might be just a psychopath,
know.
you
I just
know,
love the challenge. No, I'm kidding.
sociopath, something.
But yeah, no. If I'm, if we're gonna go, if me and my girlfriend are gonna go out to her family, who, they live out in rural country area,
Yeah.
neighboring city to Fort Wayne, you know, it, I did that once. I did that once on my bike for Hoagland days, and oh my God, this was like back whenever I was first starting to bike all over the place. I wanted to see if I could, and I managed to get there. uh, they have a minivan, and they were more than willing to, bring me back with my bike and everything like that. So I'm like, I'm grateful for that. But I did
Yeah, I
that
was about to
once.
say, I knew that happened.
Yeah. So, I did that once to see if I could. I could, but oh my God, I was miserably exhausted at that point. But for practicality's sake, I ride a bike all over Fort Wayne. It In the case of whenever we move apartments or something like that, obviously I'm not going to try to put everything that we own on the back of my back and ride my bike to our new apartment. That'd be asinine,
I
you
mean, if
know.
you're doing it with pizza boxes, you might have an opportunity. But okay, here's the real question though. Like,
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
well, two questions. What does your partner think about bikes? And then my second question will be, do you ever want to own a vehicle at some point?
Okay. So, I'll go ahead and answer your first question. What does my partner think about this? She, I was actually the one that more or less taught her how to ride a bike because she got she got some training from her brother whenever she was growing up or like that, but never really
Yeah.
stuck. Because of the fact that I was taking it, so above and beyond the normal, then she's like, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this thing together. I mean, we're already in a romantic relationship anyway. It just makes sense. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and do this. And so we did it for a little while, and she wound up getting in a job that required her to have a car, basically, is what happened. In which case, life happens, and we wound up selling the bike. No, we freaking gave it to her sister, and and I actually asked her, I'm like, okay, babe, I'm gonna get into this space on the business end of it. I'm going to be selling these electric bikes and scooters and skateboards. In the event that my businesses take off and I'm able to retire you because we can survive off of my income alone, would you want to do this with me? Like actually have a bike, scooter, or skateboard with absolutely 100%. Because at that point, she wouldn't need the car to get to work, right? It wouldn't be a requirement for her for making money for us, right? So, and also we had Vio right here in town, right? We had Vio right here in town. Whenever I'm on my bike, she was on the scooter, and we both enjoyed it. She went faster than
Mhm.
me usually because those things go 20 miles an hour. I'm doing good to go 15.
Right.
But she still really enjoyed it. And we even went down to it was a smaller neighboring city just outside of Indy that, we could rent their electric bikes. They had Rad Power electric bikes. We went down there and rented them out for like I think it was like an hour or two or something like that. She loved it. We were on the bike
Right.
trail, not zipping around town or anything like that, but she
Mhm.
really enjoyed it. So it is I can see where a lot of people are like, oh well, that's just a super expensive toy or whatever like that. It's a matter of going back to the phones. Do you only use it for calling and texting? Okay, then yeah, you could get away with a $40 Android phone for a year or two or whatever the case is. And this goes into your second question: would I ever own a car? The answer is as long as I can get away with it, no. I'm going to put an asterisk
Well,
on there
okay.
and say I do have a quote unquote dream car that I would love to whip around a track for a weekend because it would be a kind of a reward to myself because this car is astronomically stupid for anyone, right?
What is it? What is it?
Lucid Air Sapphire.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen
And
those.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it's because of everything, all the research I've done on them and everything like that. All my family is like, hey, look, it's Blake's favorite car. It's Blake's dream car. They're pointing to a Tesla or whatever like that. I'm like, when have I ever said that I wanted a Tesla? Well, you're always talking about them and Elon Musk and da da da. I'm impressed with the technology, don't get me wrong, because I'm a tech. But that car is completely ludicrously, hilariously just impractical for me, right? As would be any car that I have to pay license, registration, insurance, versus just having an electric bike that doesn't need any of that stuff. And maybe I do put a GPS tracker on it that costs me, $20 a month. Whoop-de freaking do. That's my insurance. What's your insurance
Yeah.
look like, buddy?
What would you do if they just decided we're gonna have to put bike insurance on a bike? What would you do then? Would you just start walking everywhere?
You know, um, that's one of those things. If they do
Look, I
that,
agree with you. Car insurance is crazy, especially I can't deny that there, especially because I am kind of dealing with some bullshit ass car insurance, especially out here in California. So I understand car insurance is very insurance in general is
yeah,
kind of a terrible thing. Like it has its benefits, but
yeah,
it's some pretty big caveats. I feel like that is unfortunate for the
right.
American
I
people.
would just rather save up my money, have some money, or even better yet, have some actual assets like, a building for my business that I can refinance if I have to go into the hospital for something and have to pay off a hospital bill for. You
Yeah.
know, it's one of those things that I would rather have that than have the insurance policy. But okay, fine. As long as I can actually play the game and, you know, be able to provide my skills and expertise to my community, and in turn, they give me the money that I need to be able to afford this stuff, like a health insurance or medical insurance policy or whatever the case is, like
Mhm.
that, on top of the rest of my lifestyle. Okay, fine. I haven't got there yet. Still figuring it out as I go. I'm recently restarting. Like I said, I've been out of work. I quit track fund like months ago at this point. Not quite a year yet, but months ago. So, I'm rebirthing myself, as it were, right now. Right. I'm going through a very hard restart in my life, in a lot of ways. And I'm not going to lie, it sucks in a lot of ways. But I've also never felt more free and able to do whatever the hell I want to do either, minus the expense of certain other things.
Right. Um, okay. Uh, One thing I want to ask too, because it's as we talk about marketing for other businesses, and
Mhm.
as a business owner, it is also very important to market for yourself too. And it
Mhm.
was kind of, on my head and or on my mind in terms of like, how do you market your business? Do you do any sort of marketing? What do you do for your business in terms of like social media marketing? Do you feel like you could
Right.
do more, or what are you doing?
Do I feel like I could do more? Can a fish swim faster? The answer is yes, of course, always. And I wanna double click on something. In terms of market, do you mean like vaguely just putting out content that you're using the right tags for? Or are we talking like actual paid Google
No,
advertisement and Facebook
I mean that is a
posting,
that is a
things
big part of
like
it
that?
too.
Okay.
Running ads, but more in general, just making content that markets your business.
Right. So I was
For
doing,
instance, so for to kind of give, like
yeah.
obviously with this podcast, this is season
Hmm.
2 of my podcast. At this particular point in time, nobody has seen anything or heard anything about SW Film since I've taken my break since I moved to LA.
Hmm.
But there's a reason for that. And that reason is because there's a shit ton of content that I've been prepping and preparing for this return
Hmm.
in terms of that. So I guess in your case, like, do you make content specifically that markets your business?
I was. Yes, I was, and I jumped on TikTok. I've got two TikTok accounts that are specifically for my business. I do not have a TikTok personally, right? I don't have a TikTok on my Pixel, which is my personal daily driver. I've got my TikTok right here on my business phone. That is a Samsung phone. So I was uh posting almost as frequently on across all social media platforms, uh, for the sake of promoting my business. And it was, specifically, just, the fact that I was, approaching the different real estate companies in town. And, I was sending out the emails and getting responses back. No, we've got a team for that, da, 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 so on and so forth. And I was doing the whole green screen thing of take the screenshot of the email, blank out who I want to make sure to not call out anyone necessarily, but you know I was doing that for a while. I kind of stopped in all honesty because it was actually because of the fact that I was switching over from Windows to Linux because, and I'll just go into that real briefly. Um, I'm following the tech space a lot, keeping up with everything, and eventually, one piece of news that I found early one morning actually hit me directly on my PC, which was that, Microsoft was pushing Edge so much that not only would it not allow me to set the default to be Chrome, which is what I've been using, but that Chrome browser wouldn't update on my PC at all. Right. So I'm like, okay, along with everything else that Microsoft is doing, like having so much bloatware to it and everything like that, what if I go on over to Linux? Like, can it work? I do a little bit of research, and yeah, sure, people have figured out ways to make DaVinci Resolve work with Linux and AMD graphics card and CPU and everything like that, which is what I have. Like, okay, let's go ahead and do this. Ouch. That was I thought I was diving into the deep end of the pool, right? And
Mhm.
people use that expression, oh, I was really diving in the deep end of the pool. Congratulations on that. Not everyone has the bravery. It was the deep end of the pool that had tunnels, was dark. I couldn't make my left from my right or my up from my down. There was more than just water in that bitch. It was also oil mixed with whatever other chemical. It was, what is this? I was learning coding, like scripting for the first time with ChatGPT, which I'm pretty sure was just sending me in circles. Like, oh my God. And, I had to download dependencies for DaVinci Resolve to work properly and so on and so forth. I'm like, and there's different flavors of Linux too. Like, there's Windows 11, Windows 10, Windows XP, there's Linux Kubuntu, Linux this, Linux that. Then there's like 600 or 700 different versions of Linux. I'm like, what? Like it was so overwhelming. I consider myself a tech. I really do. But dear God, this was handing my ass to me as a silver platter. like it's for so many years, I was able to consider myself a tech because everything technical, I was able to ingest and understand and implement, or just keep in the back of my head for whatever reason. I was able to memorize it. I was understanding nothing about what I was doing. Nothing. I'm just, oh my God. And eventually get to the point where I'm like, okay, I got DaVinci Resolve installed and operating on my PC, which those are two very different, downloading and installing it, very different from actually operating DaVinci Resolve on a PC running Ubuntu Linux. And at one point, I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and get this thing up and going. It turns out that even if I were to buy the studio version of DaVinci Resolve, which I haven't done yet, I'm planning on doing. It's a one-time payment of $300. Take my money, give me that thing for life. We can part as friends. Awesome. Even if you were to do that, Linux doesn't use the graphics card in my PC. It will only go through my CPU, which is a massive bottleneck. Even for as good as my CPU is, it's still an AMD CPU and everything like that. It's still, mid higher tier. It still won't use it because guess what? The codec is what matters. And there is no support for H.264 codec on Linux because there's no money for the major corporations to make off of it because the community is so
Mhm.
damn small.
Probably should go
So,
to Mac. Probably should go to Mac.
okay. I've got a response to that. My response is this. I'm too much of a tech to want to get those golden handcuffs on. I understand the appeal. I follow tech, I follow business. Most of my customers at my day job, I was recommending an iPhone to because they wanted something that was super simplistic, that was, easy to operate, wouldn't give them a whole bunch of malware and viruses and so on and so forth like that. I'm like, you just described what an iPhone is. I understand the appeal of Apple. I do. I cannot put those golden handcuffs on me. They're gold, they're nice, they're beautiful. I get it. I have a very emotional connection with my PC because of the fact that I've put so much money and work and effort into this for so long. I can't do it, but I would be lying if I said that, it is a labor of love, just like the rest of video production is. And I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yeah.
Video production is a labor of love in itself. At the end of the day, I want my tools to work the way I want them to work, and not just because some major corporation is allowing me. I want to be able to extend myself in different other ways that the corporation may not want me to go without
Yeah.
having to be trampled.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I understand it. I cannot do that. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I just went right back over to Windows because I'm like, okay, at least DaVinci Resolve actually works on Windows. Even if there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's bottlenecking me, it's not bottlenecking me to an unusable point. Like, I'm not kidding you whenever I say I was struggling so hard to edit HD footage, 60 frame a second, and it just all it practically wasn't doing it. It was basically unusable. I couldn't do
Yeah.
it. And I found that out the hard way. I'm glad I did because I learned a hell of a lot.
About tech, because I know tech is one of those things that you love a lot. So I want, and I know you'll go on a huge tangent as you just did. So
Look
we're
at
gonna try to
that, freshman.
stay on topic here. But like, what are some of the interests you have in tech right now?
Uh,
Like, what are some of the things that interest you the most about some of the things going on in the tech space?
some of the things that some of the things that interest me the most going into tech space right now is specifically with as far as, like, security is concerned. Like I said earlier, I've got a server back here behind me that I have it hooked up to my network, obviously. Primarily, I'm going to be using it for backup storage for right now. So I've got a 10 terabyte hard drive in my server, the same as I do a 10 terabyte hard drive in my PC, and that's literally just so that way the one hard drive mirrors itself onto the other one. Even as I'm, working on a video project in real time, it'll mirror itself onto it. I haven't quite got it figured out yet, but I'm working on it.
Hmm.
And also things like, how there's a lot of pushback on, the piracy thing is always going to be there. But as far as, being able to own your own piece of content, being able to own, whenever you hit purchase on a movie from any platform, the idea that you are just purchasing the rights to access that movie, as long as either A, you're still paying your monthly subscription, or B, that platform doesn't take that movie away, right? I can't tell you how many videos I've downloaded off of YouTube by something as simple as, because I've still got Linux on my laptop, I'm just using that for basic internet browsing, so that's fine. But I'm downloading all the videos, like Linus Tech Tips came out with like a two-part series that was de-Google Your Life. I went ahead and I downloaded those videos and I started watching them. Now I've got them saved to a hard drive because a few days later, YouTube took them down because they violated
Mm.
terms of service. Because they did eventually get to talking about how there are other websites and third-party apps not available in the Play Store. You have to download them from unknown sources, but they are there so that people can basically just avoid the ads on YouTube altogether and just get the content, right?
Mm.
Because of the fact that they showed specifically what the names were and showed how they're used and everything like that very briefly, but still in enough detail that you or me or even my girlfriend who's not that tech savvy can go look for that and do that. But because of that, YouTube took those videos down. I have my own
That's crazy.
copies.
Hmm.
I have my own copies of those videos.
Hmm.
That, things like that are what fascinate me a lot. The security aspect of, oh, if one state decides to suddenly say that that people can no longer access this site without uploading a photocopy of their driver's license, without their government issued driver's license, that we're not going to allow you to access this site. But then all I got to do is go far enough that way that I hit Ohio, and I'm pinging from Ohio, so now I can access this site.
Pornhub. But yeah,
So,
that secure. Yeah, it's a lot of
that,
different restrictions for things. Yeah.
and something like that. It's one of those things where they're about ready to show, and by they I mean pick whatever government agency you want. They're about ready to show you how much of a reach they have actually had for a long time, because now people are starting to wake up to the idea that, oh, everything I'm doing is being tracked, and that's not just these businesses that are using this cookies and data to say, hey, this person is interested in this product or this service, so they might also be interested in our product or our service. It's also the fact that anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. And that includes your text, because guess what? The companies that are servicing that information would be required by law to hand over whatever incriminating evidence any kind of judge would want to subpoena. With the exception of Apple, I get that. But then that's also why I'm on Telegram, because they're not so far. They're not willing to just bend over backwards for whatever law enforcement agency or whatever like that that just randomly asks for that. Whereas, take a polar opposite of that, which would be a company that comes to my mind would be Ring, for example. There's a reason why police advocate for it so much. They have backdoor access into those cameras whenever the hell they damn well please. I don't consider that secure. I get what the idea is, but the fact is that a human being, okay, law enforcement or not, U.S. military, Marines or not, burger flipper or not, I don't care. Human beings are corruptible. It takes one crooked person to be like, hey, I'm going to take this seemingly innocent thing and twist and turn it into something that would send you to jail, present to a judge, and you could be potentially thrown in jail for it. That's where I'm coming from whenever I say, I'm looking more into security. I'm looking more into the fact that, I can't tell you the last time that I was hooked into a public Wi-Fi, because whenever I realized that, oh, I could be attached to some random other person's Wi-Fi that's, Starbucks free Wi-Fi, but it's actually this person's laptop over here in the corner, and they're watching my traffic and getting my banking information because I'm using my phone. So I'm staying on my own data. I'm staying on my own.
You're big
network.
on VPNs? Are you big on that?
I'm big on self-hosted VPN. So that's actually another reason why I've got my server. I'm working on it in a way as to where it also is going to be my own self-hosted VPN, right? Take any VPN company that you've heard of, Nord, TunnelBear, private internet access, whatever, any of those bigger VPN. Even if they currently haven't had a public statement come out from whatever article saying, oh, well, this company had all this data leak, or this company was breached, or whatever the case is, that doesn't mean they haven't had it happen and they've just kept the lid on it. Because I think it took Capital One a year before they said anything about people's data being breached. But then on top of that, okay, let's say they haven't had that happen yet. It's not to say that won't happen, because essentially these companies can wind up being so big that they just wind up being a target and a honeypot for black hat hackers. So the best way for people to protect themselves, host everything yourself, right? Host your own VPN. I know it's a learning curve. You've really got to do your due diligence, do your research. It is a constant cat and mouse game. I get that. I understand that. The alternative is that you're bending over backwards for anyone that says anything to you because you're afraid of being locked up.
Mm-hmm.
It,
So,
it sounds like an extreme scenario, but there's also an amount of truth to that too.
since you would call yourself really tech savvy and a tech, how have you ever had an interest of like working for a tech company or like doing cybersecurity or anything like that? I
Cybersecurity.
feel like hearing you now, I feel like you could
Not.
probably be in that position.
I'm not smart enough for cybersecurity. In all honesty, like I said, I barely got I barely got DaVinci Resolve installed on my on my Linux PC whenever I was running Linux. Like, I'm not as tech savvy as what even some of my customers at TrackPhone would have mean. I had a woman in tears because she was so happy that I that she thought she deleted some photos off of her phone. And it turns out that she was just signed out of her Google Photos account, and once I got her signed in, because Google sent her a one-time verification code, so on and so forth, I was able to get her in within like 30 seconds. This woman was crying happy tears, like tears of joy. Like, she was so happy. She's like, what do I owe you for this? I'm like, I didn't really do it. I just signed you in your Gmail account. That So I say that to say this. I'm not that tech savvy. And I say that because Linux has humbled me, right? I'm tech savvy enough to know what graphics card I'm going to want to upgrade to in my PC eventually, right? I'm looking at it right now. I've got a lot of RGB fans in here in my PC. Two of them are stuck on red, and I don't know why.
Mhm.
You know, like I've had my server for about a month now. I haven't been able to get that thing figured out to mirror all my footage from my primary hard drive to my backup hard drive, because it turns out that freaking TrueNAS scale wants me to have like multiple drives in there, so that way I can just mirror one drive onto the other within
Mhm.
itself. And I'm like, no, 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 I want you to mirror the drive from my PC to the server. Well, we don't really recommend that, but okay, fine, here you go. But there's a lot that goes into it, and I'm still learning it. Now, I say that to say this. I am learning it. There's a lot that I've learned and that is stuck in my brain, right? It is a learning curve, and I do see that a lot of people that, no disrespect whenever I say this, but a lot of people have just let the major tech companies hold their hand through this technological innovation that we've been having for a long time. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot of cases where it has bit people in the ass, right? A lot of people, I've got a family member, a closer family member to me, that they only ever whenever they take a picture or a video or whatever like that, they only ever put it on Facebook, right? Whether it's listed or they've got it listed as private or whatever the case, or they're posting it publicly to friends or whatever. They're doing it as they want to per photo or per video. But they do that because of the fact that their phone doesn't really have that much storage, and they don't really want to, they've had their bad luck with SD cards corrupting or whatever like that. So they're posting it there because it doesn't cost them anything. Yeah, okay, I can't really fault you for that. That's actually a half decent answer, except for the fact where Facebook has more open back doors than a freaking gay bar. I mean, come on, you don't have to look far to see to see that Facebook has had its heap of just security breaches left and
Security,
right.
yeah, for
It
sure.
just
Which is wild because it does have still to this day. I think it still has
it's
some
one
of
of
the
the biggest
most
tech companies
in the
in
world.
America, right? In the world, yeah.
World, yeah.
So how is it that they have so many? How even like I know that this is a thing. I know that Facebook has this kind of security problem. What I haven't been able to figure out is why. You cannot tell me that you don't have the revenue to invest in decent security that wouldn't have, prosumers of tech like myself see an article almost once a week on average about how Facebook had another security breach. Get it together.
I
Dear
feel like
God.
if not a tech company, how come you have you ever tried Best Buy?
I
Like
have. I have.
And
And,
and what
and I
and
even had the interview, and they went a different direction. Here's what I'll say: is that I've had a lot of I've had closer family members that, not to scare you away or anything like that, but I've had family members that have, well, why don't you get into something technical? And I wind up ghosting them because, in all honesty, they asked me that for years. And I'm like, because I want to go this route, right?
right.
So it's the route of entrepreneurship. I found out through my previous job, which like I said, I was at for 5 years. So it's not like I'm unemployable or can't play by the rules or anything like that. I can for a period of time. I make for a terrible employee. Not to say that I'm unemployable. I make for a terrible employee. I want to carve my own path. I want to come up with my own ideas, bounce them off of people or whatever like that, and then actually execute on my own ideas. I want to have the control, and I want to fail on my own fruition if it doesn't work out, right? So, and that goes along with, just being that that kind of goes hand in hand with, even just living in America. I mean, it was built on capitalism and just entrepreneurship, and like I said, David going after Goliath and winning. You know, so many brands that we look at today, for better or worse, have made it from nothing.
Absolutely. I
So,
mean, Google, I remember I did a commercial for Google where we went to the garage that it was created in, and
oh wow, that
so then that was cool,
mhm.
that was definitely cool. I mean, to see that Airbnb went to the exact building that they first hosted their very first Airbnb in
Mhm.
San Francisco. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
no, those are always great stories, and I get it. I mean, I understand that completely as a filmmaker and entrepreneur. I like to be able to have created something and have that service be
It's
there to the
yours.
world
It's
and have my
your
projects
baby
out there.
essentially. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something that you created from
But
scratch.
I
And
will say though, like Best Buy, like I'm with you. I love tech too to a certain degree. I'm definitely not big into like a lot of like the PC stuff or the
Mhm.
servers or
I
any of
get it.
like the PC builds. Not usually that. I'm more bigger on like, pieces and parts of phone tech, of course, cameras and stuff in the film industry world.
Mhm. I get it.
Um, and stuff like that. But
I get
in
it. Like
terms of
I could lock
yeah,
my Pixel down. Uh, that would actually make it more secure than any iPhone on the market. I know that Apple is one of the most secure tech giants that there is, because they
sure,
don't let anyone else in, right? NSA, FBI, CIA, pick another government acronym, whatever. They don't let anyone in, and they've never had it spill out that anyone has gotten in or whatever like that. Sure, you've had different users' accounts breached whenever their password is p at ssw0rd. You're going to have that. Apple specifically has never been hacked yet. Microsoft cannot say that. Google cannot say that. All these other ones like that, they just can't say that. So I get it, and yeah, the software is amazing. Like, you put in a pair of AirPods, you've got your watch on, you've got your tablet there, you've got your Mac there, whatever the case is, like that, and the audio in your AirPods are connected to all three devices, but the source is coming from whatever you're looking at. Not even that you're tapping buttons and saying, okay, cancel this, turn that on. You're not even doing that. You're just looking, like glance at it, and that's where your audio to your buds are going to. It's
yeah,
impressive. I'm fascinated by it. I cannot put on those golden handcuffs.
you got to do it,
I
man. All right, what is the future for BAM videos for yourself? Like, what is the future? What do you have planned? What is next for you?
Well, like I was saying earlier, I'm putting myself out there, literally, shoes on the ground, approaching different businesses to partner up with me, to just be producing more content for the business than what they're doing on their own, or even period. Like, the number of businesses that are here in Fort Wayne that are only exclusively posting once a week on Facebook and Instagram because, well, at least we're on the internet. Why not X? Why not YouTube? Why not TikTok? Why not, all the, they're sleeping on this. They are sleeping on this. And there's so much potential to have with this. They, even just, I'm even following like on my video business TikTok, on BAM Videos TikTok. I'm following a freaking private jet broker company that, they just have somebody that's else that's in the office, just, documenting the phone calls. They censor out certain private information stuff or whatever like that, but they're documenting how the interaction goes down, or they're answering commonly asked questions, or maybe addressing certain misconceptions about, the billionaires they serve, or whatever the case is. So, I wouldn't have thought of following something like that, but something like that is actually oddly fascinating to watch. And it's not, the glitter and glamour of having a private jet or whatever. It's about the business aspect of it, of, the back and forth of, well, if we can, it's kind of like Shark Tank in a way, so, but to be able to document, D-Rock, you as a business, or Gary V, I want to be that D-Rock, but I want to do that across multiple businesses and be able to host the business's website on my server with their with their series that people are subscribing for, and downloading the content, have their own and everything like that. That's what I'm angling for right now. That's my short, medium, and long-term goal right there is, and if I wind up being a worthy rival for Netflix, cool. Let's go.
All right. You heard it here. BAM is trying to compete with the big boys.
Are we all to an extent?
With the of course, with the long shots. Absolutely. Man, tell us where people can find you at. Tell us about your social medias, just where people can find you, so we can, start seeing more content from you and start, getting some clients on board. Where can people find you at?
Yeah, no, absolutely. BAM Videos across the board. It's some variation of BAM Videos. I couldn't quite get BAM Videos on all social media platforms because some of them were taken, so on and so forth. I was able to get, Video Producer BAM on TikTok, or Vid Pro BAM on X, or whatever the case was like that. So it's some variation of BAM Videos. I will be, one of the first things I'm planning on doing, the first contract that I get signed, is getting my website back up and going, which I was able to buy the bamvideos.com domain. I wasn't able to for the longest time. It was under, it was bamvideos.com, but it was business and management or something like that.com. And I'm like, son of a bitch. But then I went ahead and one day I double checked. I'm like, okay, I've got the money for it. I'll double check and see, hey, look, it's available for $20. Buy now. Hit that button. I had to smash that button right then because I'm not going to pass up that opportunity. I've lost it, but I'll get it back. I'll get it back once I get that first contract, which I'm hot right now for.
Yeah, so cool. BAM Videos all across the board. That should be what, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. So yeah, man. Y'all make sure to go follow my guy over here and get this man some work, man. And just, I think in general, one thing that's important, it is good that you document some of your different processes and stuff like that with tech and with the biking and stuff. I'm a very big person in terms of just documenting your life. That is a huge thing. As a creative, I think it's important that we all just document, just our daily ins and outs of life, and of course not go psychopath with it, just film everything like some people do, but document special moments, document your creative process, man, and just show people that you took this jump and that you're succeeding at it. So absolutely. So thank you, Blake, for joining the podcast, man. I appreciate you. And everybody, thank you for listening or watching wherever you are watching it at. You guys know what to do. Subscribe to the Excellent Podcast on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And of course, be on the lookout for the next podcast coming soon and the next vlog coming soon as well. So thank you, Blake, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, 100%.